Thank you. Thank you, Zoom. And this way we'll have it to move forward. So I had a couple of different messages that I really felt compelled that I wanted to go over and I wanted to share with you all. And it is in relation to achieving your goal in 2022. But it's not really the classic business planning. And that's why I called it business planning overview, because to me, what I wanted to cover today were the elements that I think should be factored into everything you do to make the business plan and everything that you do to create a GPS that is actually going to guide you to where you want to be. So I'm hopeful that what I've selected to cover today is going to achieve that goal. I am doing it with the goal. I mean, most of you want to have a significant increase in units closed, correct? Can I get thumbs up or hands up? Or I know that some of you are looking at more of a talent increase or a team increase. To keep things simple today, here's the agreement I'd like us to make. Right now, fill in the blank in your mind of what your goal is, whether it's increasing units or it's finding team members or expansion or creating an investor division and doing your own flips. It doesn't matter what it is. Have that in your mind and in your notes. And anytime I say doubling your production or listings, fill in what your goal is. I know there's also some buyer agents on here. So of course, when I talk about that, you're thinking of buyer agency signed or buyer consultations. But let's just agree on that now so we just have clarity moving forward and I can move fast and talk fast like I know you all love, and then we can cover more in a shorter time. Okay. If we have specific questions about, let's say that you're really keen on developing talent, save that for the Q&A time and say, how could I incorporate item 8 into, recruiting talent? So just let's, and any questions you also have, go ahead and put them in the chat. I would someone like to volunteer to be a co-host that could sort of monitor the chat, because there is one skill I lack, and that is looking at a chat when I'm talking and looking at a PowerPoint. So would someone like to be chat and mute monitor co-host? Okay, Jennifer. Jennifer. Oh, by the way, Jennifer.
I was muted, sorry.
Where'd you get? There you go. Jennifer, introduce yourself. Tell everyone where you are.
Hi, I'm Jen Drahan, and I'm in Wellington, Florida. Me, along with my business partner, Betsy Kaiser, we're a 2-woman team, and we have an admin. And that's kind of where we're at. And then we piece out, we have a marketing team and a transaction coordinator that are not solely work with us, but they greatly continue to further our business.
Yeah. I don't have volume on
so one thing that you didn't mention is they sell luxury properties and they sell horse properties.
Yeah, we are luxury.
We want to mention that
equestrian emphasis, and we handle a lot of investors too.
Right. So everyone on this call that does luxury, raise your hand. Okay, and who does horse properties?
Yay!
Yeah. So that's why I wanted you to mention that, because you're surrounded. Oh, and who does investors, and who, Miss Faye Basher, does their own flips and has their own flipping division, and Brad Seaman.
Nice.
And who are my other flippers on here? I know I've got more flippers on here. All right, so we can all give Jennifer a warm MAPS welcome. She's been with MAPS before. She just came into my schedule about 2 weeks ago. All right, so we're going to jump in. And Jen, if you could do me a favor and also keep watching for latecomers and admit them, that would be great, because I've been known to leave people in the waiting room longer than I intended.
Okay.
All right, so do you guys like that concept of, let's approach today from the concept of doubling your business, whether that's talent or, fill in the blank with what that would be. And we're going to just go through this. I've broken it down into 10 actionable items. If something is more intriguing or not, we could spend a little more time on it. I will be giving you this spreadsheet. I will be tweaking it slightly before I send it to you and adding links to additional resources that I reference through the day. Okay. So let me present. Does that sound good? Yes, no, maybe.
Yeah.
And then as you guys are doing your, more practical business planning with your market center or your region, all of these things, and you're creating your GPS, all of this can be infused into it. You guys know who I am. If you're new, you'll know soon. Okay. So our goals today: formalize, create 10 powerful action items for 2022 that will enable you to double your production, to challenge any limiting beliefs you may have on hold in regards to growth, introduce you to some models and techniques that are going to let you grow further and faster, and open your mind to possibility. Many of you have been in coaching for quite a while. And one of the things that can happen is you can start to almost get into a comfort zone of coaching. And my goal today is, if you're in that, I want to shake everyone out of it. Some of these techniques in these 10 we've discussed before, or we discussed a couple of years ago, or you may have started doing it and you've backed off from it. Some of them might be a little bit new, but just, come in here like you're a freshman and be like, all right, we're making it happen. Okay. So a couple of questions I wanted to ask everyone, and I don't expect you to answer them in this minute. My thought with this is I wanted to start with these questions. And then after we've gone through everything and you've done, your business plan or whatever, that come back and spend some time and reflect on these. So what strongholds are keeping you where you are right now? I know a lot of you really well, and I've even said this to a lot of you. Some of you, and I'm not saying this to be cute or to be coachy, some of you could be selling double what you're selling right now with very small changes, and yet you don't make the changes. So what are those strongholds that keep you where you are right now? And then, and what are those strongholds? What are keeping you from getting those results that you say that you desire? That one, a little sub question would be, do you truly desire what you're saying you want? You could add that in there. And then I also wanted to challenge every single one of you to give you a different perspective on how to look at what you're doing every day and every week. What is your calendar worth? If you look at your calendar today, and by the way, I don't mean the pretty calendar that's color coded with shorthand and links and all that stuff that you don't follow, or you might follow it 40% of the time. I'm talking about what you actually do every day. If someone followed you and they created a calendar, a journal, a work log of everything you do, is that work log the work of someone selling 100 units? Is it the work log of someone grossing or netting $1 million per year? Is it the work of someone grossing over 3 million a year? Several clients are going to gross over 3 million this year. If you did a comparison of what you do, and by the way, they have a life and they travel and they do stuff, and they're not a huge team. As you all know, I'm a big fan of the streamlined, high praise and productivity, staff enhanced team. So, if you compared what they're doing to what you're doing, what would your calendar, what would your work log be worth? And the last aspect of it is your calendar the calendar of a business owner of a multi-million-dollar sales company? So I love these. Again, for a time for reflection, maybe a Saturday morning with a cup of coffee and brew back on, sit, reflect, phone on do not disturb, and just reflect on these and just write whatever comes to mind. I think if you dig deep on these, it's going to make 2022 one of your most powerful years. So are we ready to jump in? We're jumping in.
Yes.
Number one, shocker alert, mindset strategy. please hear me clearly. I know a lot of you are already skilled in mindset. I consider myself to be skilled in mindset work. And yet we could all be better. And I really wanted to dig deep on some of these and make sure that you are incorporating elements that can help you keep your focus, keep your energy, and keep income producing activities at the forefront and minimize the amount of time that a negative mindset or something going pear-shaped interferes with what you plan to do. So I'm going to do a quick recap on affirmations. You want to do them every day in the morning. If you're not currently doing them, I recommend you piggyback it on top of brushing your teeth. None of you would leave your house without brushing your teeth unless the house was on fire or there was some critical emergency, right? So when you want to establish a new routine, the most effective way is to piggyback it
This is the Bridget workshop.
onto an existing habit. Okay. So you're going to attach it to brushing your teeth. Remember, you can use them throughout the day as you need. We are going to talk about an emergency plan and a theme song, but I want to step into affirmations for one more minute. And believe me, so I tend to attract, no surprise, I tend to attract high Ds. I tend to attract very smart people that question things. Most of my clients are not going to be the most airy-fairy clients. You know, I can't recall anyone this year going to a drum circle and singing Kumbaya, you know, at a art and crafts festival. Love it. Nothing wrong with that, but it's not typically who I attract. So I guarantee there's either people sitting there right now on this call or listening to this recording that are going, oh God, she's doing this crap again. Let me do some emails real quick. And when I hear her say number 2, I'll come back on. Stop it. Anyone you talk to, Diana Kokoska, Monica Reynolds, Gary Keller, Jay Papasan, Tony Robbins, big people in this field that I'm not going to say out loud because I love my job and I don't want to get in trouble. All of them say mindset is absolutely critical, and that affirmations is one of the best ways to counter negative thoughts, procrastination, not taking action, following your schedule, fill in the blank, right? So I want to give an example of a powerful affirmation session. And then I also want to give an example of what it's not. Which do we want first? I'll do what it's not first, okay? When I say do affirmations in the morning, I'm not talking about this. All right, I brushed my teeth. Now I guess I have to say that stupid crap Bridget told me to say. Oh, I'm a great salesperson. I'm good at real estate. I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And doggone it, people like me. That's not what we're talking about. What I'm talking about is you do your affirmations. I'm just going to do, and this, by the way, slice of life. This is what you would see in my bathroom. Yes. I'm so grateful for another day above ground. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, God. I'm going to make the best of today. This is a gift I will never have again. And I love waking up. I love opening my eyes and putting my feet on the ground every damn day. Another day above ground, we're making it happen. I will change people's lives today through conversation, allowing them to see themselves in a whole different light. I am going to create change, wealth. I'll impact not just the people I talk to, but everyone around them. Their family, their friends, the people that work with them, and their clients. The conversations I have today will impact unborn grandchildren of children that have not yet been born. This is a day where I'm going to make it happen. I am alive, excited, and full of energy. Nothing will stop me. I am fearless. I'm determined. I am unstoppable. I am a great salesperson. Let's go. We are making this happen. All right, so is that a little different?
Woo, Bridget,
The
that
first
was
example?
awesome.
So you see like the energy, you see the doing that for you guys right now, because I've done that so long, I'm not exaggerating. I got goose flesh on my legs because I've trained my body that when they hear those words and I do this, instantly my energy is lifted. Because I've done it for so long, it instantly happens. You guys have had it happen. I've given you affirmation examples on your calls, and I'll tell you, yep, I felt a reaction, and it's not even about me. It's an idea for you. But if you started your morning with something like that, which by the way, I want to give you 3 that all of you should have. One is, I am the owner and founder of a multi-million-dollar sales corporation. We are on pace for our best year ever. I move through the day with ease and elegance. So that is also one of mine that I just skipped because I didn't give you the full routine, but I thought that was a good slice of the routine. So do you get what if any of you skeptics out there, are you getting what I'm talking about now? If you started your morning like that, do you think you would make different choices through the day? I want to throw in a couple more because I cut off sort of the last third of what I do. So just jumping back into it for a minute. I choose joy. I choose happiness. I choose laughter. I make people smile everywhere I go. And it is my choice to choose joy. So add in choices you make, not just about actions and lead generation and that, because you want that in there, but add in that you make choices about how you feel and your mood. We have way more control over that than we think. Okay. So that's what I'm talking about. Is there anyone that's willing to at least play that game at that level between now and Christmas and just see what happens? If you're willing to do that, put a note in the chat. Okay.
Bridget, can I share real quick the
Yes.
app that I found?
Yes, please do.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is my very favorite thing. It's called Think Up. It was on the Empire Builders podcast. Via Williams referenced it. And it's like $20 for a lifetime subscription. So they put music underneath it so you record yourself. So I'll just play mine real quick. You can hear it.
Both a powerful CEO of a multi-million-dollar real
Right.
estate company.
So the cool thing about that is that for me, I will play that while I'm getting ready for work. I'll play that while I'm driving, and you can do different playlists. So if I'm going to a listing appointment, if I'm making calls, if I know I'm talking to an angry person, whatever it is. The music though is super powerful. So I would highly, highly recommend that. It's been a game changer for me.
Yes. And make sure you put the link to that in it's an app. So
I'll put the name of it in the chat though.
Because there's also science behind when you hear your own voice talking to yourself and saying them, it's much more impactful than hearing someone else or reading it or saying it in your head. Right. So I hope that gave you an idea of what I'm talking about. So I'm not talking about dag nabbit, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and people like me. That's not what I'm talking about. So I'm going to encourage all of you to up your game in this regard. And again, I don't care what area. It could be growth, it could be expansion, it could be production, units, listing division, luxury property, whatever it is, building agent referrals. I don't care. Fill in the blank. Okay. So let me go back to the screen. All right. So now visualization, and I think I've covered this with most of you. So I'm going to cover this fairly quickly. And I do want to give an example. So as I mentioned, I tend to attract, a lot of you are very high Ds. Some of you are high D, high I. Some of you are very high I. The I's tend to get into this a little bit more easily than D's. D's, I'm telling you, it's keys to the castle. So we have talked about having a 4th of July visualization. I'm just going to do a quick one. I am not talking about taking 45 minutes to get in a lotus position on a rattan mat and sing Kumbaya and go like this and then visualize while you say a mantra. I'm not talking about that. If you want to do that, yay. Don't do it during lead generation time. I'm talking about laser focused, incredibly effective visualization. So you're in the bathroom, you brushed your teeth, you just did your whole session. Now you set the timer on your phone for 10 seconds, and you're just going to do this simple visualization that involves all 5 senses. Ready? Oh, it's the morning of 4th of July. I'm up before anyone else in the house. I love that peace and quiet when everyone's asleep and I'm awake, looking out the window of my kitchen, beautiful blue summer sky with birds flying by. All I can hear is the sound of my coffee machine and the dog's nails on the floor coming up behind me, pouring that cup of coffee. Ah, man, I love the steam and the smell of the coffee. As I take a big sip, I think 65 closed and pending. Yes, this is the year. I hit it. I kept my promise to myself. I am at 65% of my unit goal by July 4th. Gonna be a great day. All right. So again, can you see what I'm talking about? If you did that, and feel free, if you don't agree, put in the chat, I don't think that stuff works, or disagree. If you did that for 10 seconds every morning between now and the 4th of July, and then the 4th of July, you did a new one for every day until New Year's Eve day, do you think it would ripple out and impact the choices you make over the course of that coming day? I'm telling you. And again, notice 10 seconds, some do 15, do it, make it concise, very clear, engage the senses, done. Okay, we're moving on to emergency plan. All of us, especially when you're having growth. And again, growth in any of the areas we mentioned. We've all had people quit. We've all had people, we pulled into our house and then we see a Coldwell Banker sign 2 doors down. We all have deals that fall apart that are part of an elaborate domino, and it creates upheaval, distress, and chaos. We all have, and especially if you're growing and you're dealing with more humans, there will be more. So I want you all to have an emergency plan. So very simply, an emergency plan, this is like in case of emergency, break glass. So one of those level of things, like something really major where you might even feel like crying or breaking something, like something has gotten you outside of the emotional lines. So what you'll do is you'll have 3 power statements you'll say right away. Well, let me back up 1 second. I'm a big believer in you time block the tantrum. So when that happens for me, I set a timer for 2 minutes. Yes, I'm addicted to timers. We all know it. But I set a timer for 2 minutes and I'm like, go ahead, cry, yell, tear paper, use foul language, place a pox upon future generations of this person, do whatever I want. When the timer goes off, that stops. And then it's 3 power statements. You are a woman of change and action. You choose actions that move you closer to your goals. You are powerful, unstoppable, and you move with ease and elegance through the day. Boom. And then you want to have a movie clip or a stand-up comic. Every single one of us has some stupid movie clip or a scene from Seinfeld or a Jim Gaffigan sketch or George Carlin. We all have something that makes us laugh every time we see it, no matter how many times we've seen it. For me, it's a lot of Monty Python sketches. Anchorman, one of my favorite movies of all time. So there's scenes from those where it doesn't matter how many times I've seen it, I will laugh. I can't stop myself. So my current clip is the Grace scene from Talladega Nights. Dear baby Jesus, 8 pounds, 6 ounces, not even knowing a word. That it's any of you that know, that scene cracks me up immediately. So I downloaded that clip. I have it favorited in YouTube for my phone, and I have it as a link on my desktop. So in my emergency plan, I give myself time to temper tantrum, 3 power statements. I watch that movie clip. Sometimes I have to watch it twice. Sometimes I have to watch it 5 times. But when you let yourself, you're using the power of your brain, because your brain loves that. So it will get you out of where you are, right? It'll reduce it immediately. And then the final element is the theme song. So we're going to talk about theme song as part of the emergency plan, and then also just part of every day. And believe me, I know this sounds like airy fairy bull honky. When you pick a theme song, I typically keep my theme songs around 3 to 4 months, but you pick a theme song that always makes you feel good, makes you want to move, you might sing along, and you absolutely love it. A great time to go back to for theme songs is middle school, high school. That most of us have very deep connections to a lot of the music from that time. If you're younger and you didn't have the joy of growing up in the 70s and 80s, well, I like the 90s too, But if you don't like the music from your time, go to the music from your parents that you heard when you were growing up. But everyone knows, you all know, and genre doesn't matter. So my current theme song is Roll With the Changes by REO Speedwagon. So in terms of your emergency plan for true dire, you're almost crying or breaking something, you would do time block, 3 power statements, go to your movie or stand-up clip, and then listen to your theme song as much as you have to till you're choosing action and you're getting back into action. Okay. For a while, my theme song was 5:15 by The Who, who's my favorite band ever. And at one point in the office, I was playing it until I felt better. And I probably had played it 5 or 6 times. And finally, a lady from down the hall came to the door and she said, "Are you trying to learn the lyrics to that song?" Because I didn't even know she was there. So it was kind of funny. All right. So now just theme song on a daily basis. Listen to it every day. So just like Alicia is listening to her recording while she's getting ready, you're doing your 10 seconds, you're doing your actual energetic physical affirmations. Then when you're getting dressed or whatever, put on your theme song. So listen to it at least once a day. And if you ever have a time during the day where you're like, I don't want to do anything, I want to go shoe shopping and go to start, listen to it again. Because you'll train yourself similar to Pavlov, that when you hear that, you feel empowered and you take action. Okay. Any questions around any of these mindset habits or routines? All right, we're going on. So practice makes perfect boot camps. I know a lot of you have done boot camps. Some of you are in the middle of boot camps. So in particular, I want to step back. A lot of clients, a lot of agents who have been in the business for a long time. I'm coming up on my 23rd anniversary in real estate next month. Many of you I'm looking around, 27 years, 28 years. I was coaching. She now successfully did a golden handoff and retired, but she had been in the business for 33 years. One of the things that can happen when you get over that 6-year mark or 10-year mark, we subconsciously start to think, well, I know how to list a house. Well, yeah, I'm good at getting price reductions. Well, I'm good. I know how to do it. And we stop building our skills. We can lose our edge so quickly, we don't even know what happened. Okay. So this may feel as if it's for new licensees. By the way, any newer licensees on here, this is excellent for you. But this is also for those of you that have been in the business for decades. We need to freshen things up and sharpen the skills. And it's also for those of you that are really looking to go from, say, level 5 to level 6, or level 6 to level 7, or you really want to take advantage of that K-win and you want to expand, whatever. So this is for any of you, not just for new licensees or those newer in the business. So, and then what's at risk if you don't continue building your skills? Everything. I don't want to sound melodramatic, but without skill building, it has a major ripple effect that I'm not going to go into detail on. And if anyone wants more detail on it, we can go into it in more depth later. It impacts your subconscious. When you're not building your skills, you're actually jeopardizing hitting your goal, going from level 6 to level 7, doing that expansion, getting great hires that are real talent, converting that next buyer, getting them to sign a buyer agent. It's all at risk. So it's pretty important. I wanted to go over how you can do it effectively, because here's the reality. Let's say that one of you is focused on bringing talent on the team. You're going to be on Team Wins Monday. You're going to get some recruiting scripting or some presentation scripting, and you want to do a role play partner. Here's the reality. You'll set it up with someone. And I don't know what changed in the last 8 years. I have noticed it's post-recession. Pre-recession, you would set up a role play partner and you guys showed up. We would show up with each other. We would say, okay, I'm doing FSBOs today, blah, 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 blah. How was it? They give feedback. They go, all right, I'm doing price reduction today. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I would change this. Great, bye. I did it hardcore with partners for years, and people showed up and told you when they wouldn't be there. post-recession, it's like a bomb went off. I don't know what happened, but people are unreliable with role play in today's world. Okay. I hate saying that. It's just true. So I want all of you to rely on yourself. So again, using that example, you're going to build your team. You want to up your game with KPAs. You want to actually attract talent and make them want you, and have multiple candidates. Great. Rely on yourself. If you choose to go over the life story interview every day for 30 days and you have a role play partner and they don't show up, give them 3 chances, get rid of them. If they don't show up on a given day, you do it out loud yourself. Okay. So just don't, here's the thing. I want all of you taking on an attitude, because we never know what's coming. We certainly didn't know what was coming in 2021. We really don't know what's coming in 2022. So rely on yourself and commit that you're going to refine your skills. I want all of you to get over any hangups you have in terms of, well, I don't use a script, or the scripting's not for me, or I already know what to, just get over it. All of you know me well. If you don't like the scripts that's been given to you, if you talk to me OTR, then I can get other ones to you. We can take one you like and doctor it up, but just get over that. If you're sitting there going, I don't like scripts, it is proven even outside of real estate. If you know going into a conversation, the questions you're going to ask and what you're going to cover, you will listen at a significantly higher level to what everyone is saying to you. And if you're so skilled that you can pivot in an instant when they bring up something that's off topic, and you can handle it and know what you're doing instead of being flustered, you will listen to them at a higher level. How do people feel when they know that you're actually listening to what they say and absorbing it? Do they feel good? Do they have a sense of confidence that you understand them and that you'll be able to achieve what they're sharing with you? So if you have any hangups, talk to me about it on your next call. Get over them. You want to have a whole arsenal of scripts you would use in many different situations. And you can take all of 2020 to do a boot camp once a month, and you could totally master one element of your business in terms of scripts and dialogues, or neurolinguistic programming and the patterns that we use commonly in our society. You could be at a whole different level by the end of next year. Okay. So the boot camp itself, I'll just touch on this briefly. You just take 30 days, you focus on one script or skill, you practice it 3 times a day at 3 paces, super fast, super slow, and your normal rate of speech. I like my typo there. Each week, do your full presentation to someone in your inner circle that's not a real estate agent. Now, one of the things I could add on there, you may not need to do that every month. You are going to want to do it in something that's totally new to you. So if this is if you've hired people before, but it didn't go well, and now you're like, I'm going to become an incredible leader and hire a person, you're going to want to do that presentation with someone from your inner circle once a week for a month. If it's your listing presentation and you're just refining your skills, you don't need to do that unless you really want a big increase in your listing division. Okay, so C is sort of on a case by case what you're doing. Okay. Anyone who's been in the business less than 6 years should all be doing that every week with every script. All right. So I gave some examples here just of how you could break it down. I went a little long in another segment, so I'm going to skip over this, but you're all getting this slide presentation, so you'll get it. And this ties in with what we were just talking about. So take real play seriously. So as I mentioned, you would take someone from your inner circle. You would say to them, Alicia, you know how committed I am to just providing incredible service as a realtor, right? I'm very passionate. Some people say I'm addicted to real estate. Anyway, I just wanted to know if you could do me a huge favor. And could I come over on Friday? And could I talk to you and do my listing presentation? They're going to say yes. They're part of your inner circle. I've got time Friday at 3 or Saturday at 9. I'll bring the coffee. So they're going to say yes, and then treat it full on like it's a real appointment. You want to give them a scenario for context. You want to follow your entire process the way that you want it to be. We all have this vision in our mind of what we want our listing appointment to listing taken system to be, what we want our listing appointment, post signing listing system to be. Do this in the whole way that you want it to be. Do the CMA, do the estimated seller net sheet, do the marketing materials, send over the pre-listing package. If you do that digitally, do it that way. If you drop it off, drop it off. If you do both, do both. Act as if it is $1 million listing. For some of you, act as if it's a $3.8 million listing and treat it exactly like that. When you show up, you start from the minute they open the door. If you're doing it on Zoom, you start from the minute they come in Zoom. Let them know you're going to treat them like you don't know them that well. And then when you finish, and this is mission critical, you will literally turn it into a waste of time if you don't do this next part. Leave immediately. So when you finish, Alicia, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to 2022 being an incredible year with tons of clients getting what they're looking for. I've got to head out to my next appointment. Let's connect on Tuesday, and I'd love your feedback. And you get out of there. So for any of them, if you're doing a talent interview, a life story interview, I don't care what it is, get out immediately. I know some of you already know why. I'll give a brief reason why. When you do that presentation, for someone who knows you as Brad, the great father and awesome BNI guy, Margaret, the incredible new grandbaby, and she's so funny, Faye, oh, she flips houses. People look at you and they filter you in categories the second that they see you. It's one of the ways that we know who it is that we're seeing when we see people we know. It's one of the ways you can see someone across the San Diego Convention Center and be like, oh, hey, because there's a lot going on in our brains that we are not aware of. When you leave immediately, you're leaving. What you just gave them was like a firework going off in the sky. And if you leave right after you finish, the little tendrils of the firework are still in the sky. So you're going to leave and they're going to see you as a business owner, a real estate professional, and a leader. If you stay and start talking about, what are you doing for Halloween? Are you doing full-size bars or miniatures? Oh, you know what? We're thinking about going skiing at Park City. If you start doing that, they just go right back to seeing you the way they always see you. So if you want it to be a waste of time, stay after and jibber jabber. If you wanted to increase your skills, increase the number of referrals you will get from your inner circle and have a powerful impact, leave immediately. Okay. So I really hope a lot of you, for whatever you're working on, I hope you will take that to heart. You can also do it with your trusted vendors. The vendor's so easy. You know what? I realized I've been at 30 of your home inspections, but you've never been to one of my buyer consults. Could you come by the office? I could do a Thursday or Friday at 3 o'clock. I would just like to go through my buyer consultation with you. So just whatever it is that you're doing, consider taking that on if you legitimately want to get out of your comfort zone and get disrupt what you've been doing. It's a disruptive commitment. Know your numbers. We're not going to spend a lot of time on know your numbers because we talk about numbers nearly every week. I just want to say out loud, you have to make sure you know how many weeks you're going to work. I have a little bit more about that further down, how many days you're going to work. I want everyone to take that intentionality to an even higher level this year. And I've got an exercise I'm going to share with everyone next week that I believe will make that happen. How many units you're going to sell? Units. I have a lot of you that like gross sales volume. If Gary Keller were here, and there's only about 3 times where I ever say what Gary would say, this is one of them. If you were talking to Gary, he would say, oh, well, that's simple. You track units. Next question. I have heard that from that man's mouth in a group he did with coaches. So make sure you're looking at units. We can talk about that more on your coaching call. How many leads are needed to reach the goal? We've gone over that. I feel like all of us could increase our intentionality and tracking on that next year. How many appointments to an agency signed to a sold? Now in this example, I put agency signed because I wanted it to cover everything. But essentially that means, you got the listing paperwork, or you got the buyer agency signed. If you don't do a buyer agency, they agreed to work with you. If you're, hiring someone, they're reviewing the offer letter and signed that. So just, you get what I mean. You have some fruition of what you're looking at. And then a couple other numbers that some of you track, but I think that there's room for growth around this. Here's a number. When are you going to wake up every day? I see someone in New York who's chuckling because we might have talked about that yesterday. Here's the deal. Get up earlier and go to bed earlier. That's simple. That morning, so that little visualization I gave you, I'm telling you, and those of you that do this, you know what I'm talking about. When you get up at 4:30 and no one else in the house is up, and your dog comes, they're quiet, but they're behind you, and you've got that, it's a peaceful feeling. You can do whatever you want to do, devotions, your affirmation, your mindset work. You can read a book for 10 minutes, set a timer for 10 minutes and start reading one thing or MREA and just read it 10 minutes a day. Like you can, but that time you can do your workout. Just get up earlier and go to bed earlier. And if anyone is a night owl, let's schedule an extra call. What's the minimum number of hot leads you'll have identified at all times? I pose that as a question. 10, make sure you have 10. How many homes are you going to preview every week? By the way, so number 3 on the previewing homes, because I do know I'm coaching a lot of you have a ton of experience. That I think is most critical for people that have been in the business, I'm going to say less than 8 years, that are new to a market area, that are breaking into luxury or wanting to increase their average sales price, which are not always the same thing. So number 3 isn't necessarily for all of you. It's for those of you that would fit sort of those categories. Okay. How many face-to-face meetings are you going to have each month with MVPs? In our tracker, we call it the growth appointments. So it might be a recruit for your downline. It might be a new vendor. It could be an existing vendor where you want to, solidify that relationship. It could be interviews for talent, taking one of your main referring partners to lunch. So it's pretty much an important meeting that moves your business forward, or could potentially, that's not a listing consultation or a buyer consultation. Just pick how many you're going to have. I'll tell you what I think is a kind of a good gauge. If you're a rainmaker, I think 3 a month, 3 or 4. Personally, I think 4, you're setting yourself up for potential failure because it doesn't factor in training events, life happening. Yeah. So I like 3. But if you're super intense, go for 4. If you're a buyer's agent on a team, I think 2 is really good. And if you're an admin or a staff, I think 1 a month is great. And you would focus mainly on vendors that are in your vendor program, vendors that want to be, and talent. You could even do team members with a very intentional meeting. And then also, let's all get more, we were really good about this for a while. We want to make sure that on Friday when you finish work, you have gauges that you check and you know that you did what you had to do that week. So is it leads identified, contacts made, appointments held, escrows opened? Some of you track how many went into attorney review every week, so at least have 2 or 3 numbers where when you're closing up shop on Friday and you're turning the lights out and you already put your little win of the day in your journal, you're going, yep, I hit my lead goal. I hit my contact goal. And so you have some idea that you're moving ahead. Okay. Any questions on that in particular? Number 5, grow your data bank. This one, again, some of these, when I was thinking about that, I'm like, some of these agents already have a database. They're going to think, what are we talking about? Here's the reality. I guarantee you, nearly everyone on this call or watching this recording, you have people in your phone that should be in your database that are not in there. And yes, I use the S word, should. You have people that are in Facebook that should be in your CRM and they're not in there. You probably have people on LinkedIn, even if you haven't been in LinkedIn for 5 years because you hate it and you think it's a boring wasteland of blah. Log in, reinvigorate it, and see who's in there that could be in your CRM. If they're in your CRM, then you don't have to log into horrible LinkedIn because you're connected in your CRM. Your email accounts, nearly all of you have your main email account, and then you've got some secondary email account that you use for junk mail and weird stuff. I'll bet there's people in your secondary email that should be in your CRM. Your vendors, people that like you. People that like you. If you're in the grocery store parking lot and you're like loading your groceries into the car and you hear, Faye, oh my God, Faye. And someone's running over, oh my God, what are you doing? How are you? You all know what I'm talking about. So even if in your mind, you're like, oh, why didn't I pick that other checkout line? So I could have already been gone for it. Come on. We all have people like that. Okay. It's reality. Those people should be in your database. A lot of times we don't put them in because we're not crazy about them for whatever reason, whatever it is. It could just be chemistry, right? But if they love you, get them in there because they can become a huge referring partner. Okay. So this list, frankly, to do this would take a long time. Some of you have outsourced this to database specialists on Upwork. DJ Tenhove did that with really good success. You could do that, then it's in a really short time frame. But really, you could take this and you could make this one of the year-long goals for you and your admin. Or if you don't have an admin yet, you could make it like a 6-month goal with an admin. You could make it a year-long goal if you're doing it yourself. This is something you want to do time on task over time. You don't want to try to do all of it in one weekend and then want to just give up on it entirely. But I just know there's more people that you guys know that could be in there. And then I just want to talk about how to add some unmets in this tough time. We're not going to spend a lot of time here because you know that. Most of you know these. Consider doing a quarterly or at least 3 times a year reverse poll 100 focused on unmets as well as mets. Ask everyone. Start getting in the habit of who do you know that I should know? I know a lot of you on here are major networkers and you're part of BNI or Bang or the other groups, LaTip team. So you guys are used to that. You'll get different answers to that than if you ask, who do you know who's going to buy or sell real estate in the next 7 to 10 days? It's very different when you say, you know what, Margaret, I know you know a lot of people. You do all that volunteer work with the fill in the blank with whatever she does. Who do you know there? Do you know anyone there that I'd like to know? Who should I know? Guess what? Because all of you are engaging, dynamic people. Wait, maybe I should look at who's on this call again. Yes, all of you are engaging and dynamic people. So when you say that to someone that does they're going to be like, oh, you know what? Sometimes when I'm talking to my friend Catherine over at the dog shelter, I think about you because she says stuff that reminds you. So you'll get answers to that question that you will not get if it's always the who do you know that needs real estate help? Work that in. All of us could get into more relationship with other high-end salespeople, car, insurance, stocks, fill in the blank. If you know full-on salespeople that are dealing with a big number of the public, and it's a high probability that they're local homeowners that at least have the amount of income that they've bought from them, get into relationship with them. Set a plan for the year that once a month, you're taking out some salesperson for lunch from some other industry right in your area. Doesn't have to be all day. This isn't all day every day, but let's start fostering those relationships. Those of you that are in BNI groups, consider if they would be a fit, because sometimes they would be and sometimes they wouldn't, but if they're a fit, it could even be a double whammy of improving your group as well. And then last but not least, join interest groups. This has become even more critical post-COVID. It was easier to meet people pre-COVID. It's been more difficult. So many of you, I'm sure a lot of you see my gallivanting all about the West, California, Nevada. More than half those trips are with my Mini Cooper Drivers Club. And then a couple are with my British Enthusiast Club. I have met more people more quickly through those car groups. And you already have a built-in rapport. People that love Mini Coopers like other people that love Mini Coopers. So, it's not just cars. There's hiking, there's wine, there's Warhammer, there's art groups, there's first night groups, there's all kinds of stuff. So if you have something you like, figure out a way to join a group or start a group. Okay. Any questions on any of that? All right. Next, get more local. I know about half of you are involved either in the YouTube challenge and or Lolo. So we're not going to spend a ton of time here. If you're not involved in either of those and you want to discuss it more later, let me know. Even if you're not doing either one of those, get more local. I cannot think of a faster way for you to meet new people that are key people in your area than for you to have a concerted effort in place to meet local business owners, managers of local businesses, and even managers of chain businesses that are ridiculously successful. One of my colleagues, not a client, but an agent in Santa Barbara, gets a ton of business from the general manager of one of the high-end steakhouses there. And it's a chain one. It's not, it's not like a local one. So if you can have that as part of what you're doing, that's going to be a way to meet new people that, again, are in touch with a ton of people in your area. You want to promote local annual events, and you want to be there whenever you can, and you don't want to be there incognito. You don't want to have on like the wide brimmed hat, the giant glasses, hair in a ponytail, hiding behind your travel mug. I hope no one recognizes me. No, that's not the point. You want to promote them and be there and work the crowd. If you are doing videos, obviously you want to keep the focus on what it's like to actually live there. And then I just have a couple of prompts on the side here that we may not think about all the time. Marco Gomez, I know he does a lot with scouts. There's parks, arts, museums, galleries, theater, ballet, concerts in the park, films in the park, unique and funky street. Nearly every town, and I actually know a lot of your towns, every town has a street that's the street, or the district that's the district. So, whatever the unique and funky thing is, ice rinks that pop up for that, just be on top of all of that. I don't necessarily want you doing it. Most of you have an admin that can take on staying ahead of the Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center calendar and then make you aware of what's coming up. Part of this is you want people, when they think Alexander Brandoff, that they don't just think realtor, real estate, taxes, landscaping, all this stuff. We want to be a real estate resource. We also want them to be, when's that wine festival? That Alex guy, he keeps up on top of all that crap. Let's text him real quick. When is that wine festival? When is that hot air balloon festival in Del Mar? You want them thinking about you as often as possible, related to your area. A couple of you are really good at this. Most of the people I coach and what I've seen could increase this more than you're doing now. Okay. All right. This is where a bunch of you, I'm going to watch participants drop by 50%. And you're all going to jump off. This is one of the ones where I told you some of it we talk about a lot. Seriously, guys. I don't care if you don't like Lance Logan. I don't care if you think some of his ideas are dopey. The reality is he's built a high producing team that is selling at a scale that is incredibly significant. And he has a fairly high retention rate of his people. So it's not a revolving door. So they're doing something right. My coach used to be his coach and was Lance's coach for about 5 years. So I would get a lot of insight into what he was doing in the building phase to what he's built. Guess what they do on the Logan team every week?
Power Day.
Yes.
Is it on
That
Monday?
whole team.
It's huge. It's some huge number.
It's huge. So that every week, Logan Group at all locations and all salespeople and all staff, they participate in a Power Day every week. If you have to miss it, it has to be, notified that you won't be there. If you miss it, you have to redeem it like a foul, just like we used to do in Old School Bold. They tell you exactly how to redeem it. And frankly, if you miss too many, guess what? you're gone. So am I saying, oh, because frankly, I don't think I'm coaching anyone right now that wants to totally duplicate Lance's business. However, I do know a lot of you want to attract talent. And a recurring thing I hear is, I want to attract talent that wants to find business. They don't just want to eat the leads given to them. And I want them to be driven, and I want them to be dynamic. And, so you guys want to attract talent that would be attracted to a team that has a weekly power day, because that's what you're describing. Okay. And that's one of the ways they've had their growth, is because they started doing that. They make it fun. It's not horrible. It's fun. So you have the fun power day every week. Well, guess what? When agents are looking at what's a team I could join, and they happen to be driven and they want to be successful, maybe they came from a previous sales background, don't you think that would attract talent? By the way, it becomes part of your hiring process. How many of you, I do hear this at least once a week. No joke, at least once a week. Oh, so-and-so came up to me and they said they want to be on my team. Brand new licensee, Brenda, said she wants to be on my team. Oh, the team leader talked to someone and they said, so you guys get that a lot because you're already running attractive businesses, right? Well, a lot of times those people that want to be on your team aren't people that you would want to have, because you want, so anyway, when you're doing a weekly power day, you literally can say, oh, great, you want to be on the team? We do a weekly power day. Why don't you come to the next two and see how you like it? So guess what? A, they show up or they don't. And if they don't, we have our answer. B, they show up and then they'll see, and by the way, if they are brand new or with a company that doesn't lead generate, it's okay if that first day they observe and visit. The second day, they're on the phone or they're texting or they're whatever it is that you guys are setting out that you're going to do. So it becomes part of the culture of the team. It will help you attract what nearly all of you have said. I'm waiting for the day. I'll do a mass announcement. I'm waiting for someone to say to me, you know what, Bridget, I'm looking for talent to join my team. I'm really looking for someone who's going to show up when they show up, and whenever that might be. And they're just going to say, can you give me some leads to convert today? That's all I want to do. Yeah, none of you have said that. I'm waiting. No one has said that.
Bridget, we have a question from Alex about
Yes.
what is the power day goal, the numbers.
Okay. Oh, good.
Thank
you, Alex. So notice I called it Power Day. I did not call it Bold 100. So the Power Day goal, it's to be together. It's to do strategic, intentional, additional lead generation and lead follow-up to convert for appointments. It's to dive through the database. You might do a special day that's like Lazarus Day, where you're calling like all the people that haven't responded in 18 months or more and just seeing who you can dig up. So you can have different themes. For me, in my experience, it's not so much the number of contacts. And that's why I called it Power Day and not Bold 100 Day. Because sometimes when you're by the way, I'm trusting all of you. Sometimes when you just focus on just 100, you shortcut, you do changes, and they're contacts that are not legitimately going to lead to immediate or future business. The focus becomes the number, not the interactions. So a Power Day, it's not so much the number of contacts, it is more the number of appointments. And it's just the fact that they're engaging and talking. Sometimes you might do, if you did a Lazarus Day, it could be how many people actually answer the phone, right? Because if they haven't answered in 18 months or more, so we can customize what it is. And I do have a very clear, I'm gonna tweak this a little bit before I send it out to you. I'm gonna put the resource in the description here, but I've got a one-page sheet about how you can run one of these very effectively. But just to give you an overview, start early, do it at the office, invite others to join you, and invite others for join you to join you. That's if you're a single agent right now, or even if you have a team right now, the more the merrier. When you're doing a power day, the more people around doing it, you're going to get more of that competitive, fun boiler room impact. I'm not talking Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross. Put the coffee down. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, everyone's calling and they see each other doing it and all that. So we'll get more into who you could invite. Obviously, talent that wants to join the team. So what you want to do is at the beginning, you want to set your appointment set target, customize that if you're doing a special theme day, and you want to have a tracking board. So if you use the large conference room or the training room and reserve that for the day, you could use the white erase board, dry erase board, put your name, put how many appointments you're going to set that day. And every time you set an appointment, you use a green marker and put a $ by your name. Every time you get a referral, put a blue star. Everyone who's participating, it's just their names. It's like calling your shot in pool. I'm going to set 4 listing appointments today. I'm going to get 3 referrals. And then you just have, so you can, and if you're doing it by yourself, still do that. There's a visual thing there that's very powerful. So essentially you set the appointment target, you have the tracking board. It is critical to use a timer. So a power day is essentially having at least 3 calling sessions back to back. It's more powerful if you do 4, and in a total dream world, you do 5. But you start each session by doing a couple of affirmations or power statements. You do a quick role play or a script run through if you're by yourself. You have music on low volume. Really good music for a day like this is that like jock jams or sports jams or whatever, or like I've Got the Power, CNC Music Factory, whatever. That on low volume is excellent. You want to have all your senses satisfied, nothing in front of you other than a dream board, a mirror, and some scripts. You want drinks and snacks in your peripheral vision. You want to have uncomfortable shoes and be in a comfortable temperature environment. So you just set the timer. If you're new to lead generation, I recommend 55 minutes and a 5-minute break. That's if you're doing it by yourself. If you've been lead generating for a while, hour and 15 minutes and a 10-minute break. The way the session goes, you did a little start, you set the timer, you're making calls, jock jams playing. And then when the timer goes off, you finish a conversation naturally if you're in it. If you're not, you hang up, even if it's dialing. And then all of you, if there's more people, you regroup and you do a little debrief and you share the good, the bad, and the ugly. Oh my God. No one answered the phone for 35 minutes. And then I had 3 people in a row that I couldn't get off the phone. What the heck? Although one of them gave me a referral for her, niece that's moving to town. I called somebody the wrong name. I thought they were going to hang up on me. I was so embarrassed. That's the one appointment I set. So you want people to share what happened. Whenever a group of people is lead generating at the same time, weird and stupid things will happen. I forgot what I was doing. I was using the dialer and someone answered the phone and I said, hi, how can I help you? I felt like such an idiot. I couldn't believe it. And they hung up on me, but I went ahead and did the next call, right? So stupid stuff's going to happen. So you want to share that little break, time the breaks. You have to time the breaks. Otherwise it turns into you're sitting with Joe from commercial division, having a muffin and talking about, bull honky. Have lunch brought in. When you leave the office, it's like you took a giant helium balloon and you popped it and it did the whole, thing that a balloon does. It's very difficult to leave and come back and recapture the spirit, have lunch delivered. So 2 other quick things. Invite other salespeople. Everyone that's a key support person in real estate needs to lead generate. Title reps, home warranty reps, lenders. They all either have lead generation or lead follow-up to do. Invite one. Hey, we do a power day every week. We'd like you to be a special guest and come lead generate with us or do your lead follow-up calls Wednesday. Why don't you come? By the way, we're not even going to ask you to buy lunch. We'll give you lunch. How's that? Because usually we're asking them to bring food, right? So I want you guys taking on this attitude next year of Nothing will stop you. So number 7, I put on there. Let's say that you know you operate better when you're doing it with someone. Most of us do, by the way. And your office is lame and you invited the ALC and they're like, no, I'm busy. No, I can't come. And then you asked your title rep and she's like, no, I don't really need that. Whatever. If you're surrounded by lameness and you can't find someone to do it with you in person, reach out to one of my clients and say, I'm doing my Power Day Wednesday. When's yours? Oh, great. Yours is Wednesday too. Let's log into Zoom. Can we be partners on our Power Day? How many of you joined my power calling days right when quarantine started? So the way it is, you get into Zoom, you do the little start, power statements, do a quick role play, and then setting a timer and you all mute yourself and put your, turn your computer sound off and you just do your calls. But there's something about seeing the other people because you leave your video on. So you see everyone talking or dialing or whatever, and it just keeps you in the moment. When the timer goes off, you debrief on Zoom and keep going. Do not let anything stop you. Either do it yourself, do it on Zoom, find somebody. I'm just highly encouraging you to make that happen next year. Any questions around this in particular?
So you're how many appointments? Since it's not number bald 100 or, to get to that 240 to have the monthly, what is
so by the way, I know all my mentors say, don't use yourself as the example. I'm about to break a rule right now. So when I was hardcore in production, so right up until end of the year 2015, for about 10 years, I would fly to Vegas for 3 days and I would do this with a whole group of high producing agents from around the country. And we did it all together in a big room, 2 whole days. So to answer your question, Alex, there's not a specific number. The most powerful ones is when at the beginning of the day, you go around the room. Faye, how many appointments do you think you can set today?
2.
2. Alicia, how many appointments can you set today?
3.
3. Okay. Alex, how many appointments can you set today?
8.
8. Love it. So do you get what I mean? And this, especially for those of you with teams, this is critical. They have to come up with what they believe they can do. You cannot, and this, I also did this in the past before I started going, my coach stopped me. You can't go in and say, okay, everyone, we're all going to set 5 appointments today. They have no attachment to that. If they don't believe they can do it, they won't set one. So when it comes from within, you're going to be better. And then you got to remember too, so let's say you're doing a Lazarus Day and you're calling through, let's say you've got a sync database with, 7,000 people that haven't engaged in 18 months or more, and you're just going to call them to see what happens. Then I would say, how many people you think you could answer the phone or text you back, right? So you want to vary it per day. That's how you can do it every week. And it doesn't turn into robot, automaton, it's robot, I meant to say. When you shake it up a little bit, you're going to get more engagement, and it's very customized, and it allows each person that participates to be a winner on any given day. Okay. Now you're highly competitive people in there. Oh my God, that room in Vegas. It was typically a bunch of high Ds that were incredibly competitive, and you had to give proof of the appointments as well. So you could not just be like, oh, I set an appointment with my mother. You couldn't do that. It stimulates incredibly good competitive activity. So I'm going to jump off that soapbox right now, but that is really something that you all should consider. One modification, because I am coaching some of you that you're moving into that stage in your business where your main lead generation is talent, staff, recruiting, and the big picture relationships, like setting up a title company or creating a joint venture, right? I can see at least 4 of you on here that are in that mode. Do the same thing. When you're doing the Power Day, they're calling for real estate. You're calling to fill in all those blanks, but your appointments are still valid and you're still being that role model and you're engaged with them. Okay, so that's just make sure you get that. Leads identified. A lot of you, have been with me and you know this process. Some of you are newer to my schedule and you are not. So I'm just going to restate all of it. So a couple numbers we know. We know that for every closing, you will identify 10 leads. So, and it's per side. So there's 10 leads identified on a global scale to have one closing. Couple things about this. And for those of you that have heard this before, listen again, because you might hear it with fresh ears or hear an element that you may not have picked up on before. So let's say we're going to use the example of closing 100 deals. If you want to close 100 deals, multiply by 10, that's 1,000 leads. Let's talk about what a lead means for this particular formula. It is anyone, regardless of source and regardless of ability, that says to you, I want to buy or sell real estate in 2022. Hold on to that for a minute. The source doesn't matter. You trying to be a fortune teller, which we all do naturally. We all are constantly assessing. So I'm going to say dog walker. Your dog walker says, I want to buy a house in Southern California. Your little filter is going to say, you're not going to be able to buy a house in Southern California, right? The purpose of the leads identified and getting 10 leads per closing is we want to turn off that internal editor that is trying to prejudge someone's ability to perform on what they say they want to do. So the way this works is that we're going to use that example of 1,000. If you got a calculator handy, you can do it for your own number right now. But obviously, 1,000 leads that say they want to buy or sell in 2022, regardless of source. It could be your mother texting you while we're in this training class. It could be an internet lead that you have confirmed is real. Do not delude yourself with a bunch of internet leads that are like Donald at donaldduck.com and 8675349 as the phone. Like that's not, don't count that, okay? So even open houses, it's not everyone that crosses the threshold. It's people where you confirm it's real information and you had that little bit of chemistry where you feel it's legitimately possible. Anything in between. So it's online inbound leads. It is leads from vendors, agent referrals, your own lead generation. Everyone counts, even mom, okay? And we count per side. So if I'm in your database and you call me and I say, that's so funny you called. I'm ready to sell my townhouse and buy a single family home. You would count me as 2 out of the 1,000. Yay, only 998 to go. Because it would be Bridget Stuart, buy, August, sphere of influence. Bridget Stuart, sell, August, sphere of influence. Okay, so let's look at this. Coming up, and spoiler alert, you don't have 12 months to get this done. And most people on average work about 46 weeks a year. Most realtors work around 44. So take your number if you're doing your own. If you're doing the 1,000, you would take the 1,000 and divide it by the number of weeks you are going to work. Personally, I don't include mega camp and family reunion. I take those out. And if you know you're going on an extended trip, just make sure and I'll go over that. You're going to know how many weeks you're working. Well, let's say this person doing 100 deals is going to work 46 weeks. Their number is 21.73. We're going to round up because we're winners that go for it. So their number every week that they work of leads identified for their team is 22. Okay. So then, we talked about having that benchmark of knowing if you did what you need to do that week to achieve your goal. That's how you know. If you have a team, you may split this up. I'm going to give you the news you already know. If you're the rainmaker, you take the heavier load. So let's use this same example. Let's say this person shooting for 100, they're building the high per agent productivity team. So let's say there's, let's say 3 agents, one's the rainmaker, 2 other agents on the team. Rainmaker, you would be taking at least 60%. So let's take 22 times 0.6. So Rainmaker, you're going to identify 33 leads every week. If you really want to make sure you achieve your goal, go for 14. And then the balance will be split, between the team members. If your team members have different goals, and I'm looking at some of you on here, and I know they do, let them do this math with them. Okay, so you want to sell 32 homes? Great. That means you're going to need 320 leads identified before Halloween of next year. That's the other thing. This all has to be done by Halloween. So you have time to convert and close before the end of the year. Great. So if you want to sell 32, and we know that that's 320. Oh, and you're doing that mission trip next year, right? Okay, great. So you're going to work around 42 weeks. Your number is 8. So you need to identify 8 leads per week. So you can also hodgepodge it together based on each team member's goal and the math, the way it works for them, and know that you need to cover any gap. And by the way, do not rely on, if it works out perfectly, don't rely on that. Increase yours by at least 1. Can you also see how this would be incredibly attractive for those of you that are looking to expand your team? Can you imagine when you're in the interview process and you know that they're interviewing, say, 5 teams, and you walk them through, hey, how many homes you want to sell? Let me tell you how you'll do it. And you factor in life and travel and vacation and give them a number that they can track every week. You think you're not going to stand out from the competition? You're going to, in a very powerful way. Okay. So any questions about that? And by the way, this works for every type of residential real estate with a couple of exceptions. First off, this formula doesn't work on commercial. This formula is slightly different if you do the more than 50% new construction. But pretty much anything else, it holds true. Okay. So any questions on that in particular?
What would happen if the lead that you generate is longer than, let's say, 6 months out? Does that count as a lead?
Yes, it doesn't matter because you're amassing everyone who wants to buy or sell in 2022 by their own, what they've said. Okay. So the problem comes in is if you talk to someone like, oh, Jim, it's so weird you called. So Ethan's going to graduate high school in 2023. We want to put the house on the market 2 months before he graduates and get out. You don't put them down. That's future pipeline, CRM, all that. Okay. Most of you know this old school system and the new school system. I'm going to cover it briefly for those of you that are new. Those of you that are new that have questions about it, we can go into it in more depth on your coaching call. But if you guys really want to nail this, and a few of you have been doing this pretty consistently, if you prefer reading books and you have notepads with you all the time and you like having a journal, or you still use a written planner, you're going to want to do the old school method. If you like audiobooks and all Kindle or Nook, or everything is digital and you're like, I don't even have paper in the house. If you ask me for a pen, I don't have one. Like if you're that ultra tech driven, you're going to want to do the new school. But I just want to walk everyone through it because some of you that have heard this in the past, you might want to rekindle your interest in it. So we're going to go back to that example of a single agent looking to sell 100 houses. They know their number is 22 per week. Literally this weekend, they're going to go buy a binder. They're going to put future client binder on it. They're going to make a very simple table with 4 columns and 23 lines. The top of the page is going to say week of with a line. And then it's going to have 4 columns. The header is name, buyer or seller, projected month of business, and source. Nothing else and then the 22 empty lines underneath it. You print out 47 of those, 3-hole punch, stick it in the binder, boom. You have your redundant by design. Please hear that clearly. This is an element, you all know the bold law, what you focus on expands. Redundant to your pipeline by design system to make sure you're finding enough leads every week to achieve your goal. So with that binder next Monday, you would put October 18th, 2021. And then as you're going through your week, you have inbound leads coming out on email. You confirm it's real and legit. Great. They go on there. You run into that dog walker. Great. She goes on there. You call me, Bridget Stuart, seller, August, sphere of influence. Bridget Stuart, buyer, August, sphere of influence. I count as 2 out of the 22. And your week isn't over till every line is filled. We are in an industry where there are not many things that are tangible or clear, or you crossed a finish line. When you start adding some of them in, it can become very satisfying for you. So that is how you would work it if you're old school. If you're new school, recreate the same sheet in a Google spreadsheet, have 1 tab per week. It is critical to be able to see 1 week at a glance. You don't want it to be a list of 79 people that you have to scroll all the way through. So just do a tab, Saturday morning, put on Steely Dan, have a cup of coffee, and just copy the tabs and make 47. Just make it, duplicate it. So you have a tab for each week. And you can do it digitally. So here's where all of this can become incredibly even more powerful. And this is where that redundancy factor is going to increase your conversion per lead. And what I'm going to describe, if you have a team, it builds team culture. So once a week, you set aside 1 hour, you conduct lead review. Notice I didn't say lead follow-up or lead, it's lead review. And what you do is you have your phone, your computer, you have your MLS, your CRM, your email, and your social media open. Those tabs are open. You've got, I don't know, Doobie Brothers playing in the background, cup of coffee, snacks in your peripheral vision. You have a green highlighter, a pen, note cards and stamps, your binder, and a notepad. Okay, just set the stage. Phone on Do Not Disturb. And what you do is you open that binder and you look at every single name. Turn the page, look at every name. So what's going to happen is you guys are savvy. You already know what's going to happen. You're going to start looking at the names and you're going to go, oh, I forgot to change Ethan Stewart's price range in the MLS in his portal. You jump in the MLS, you change his portal, right? You keep going, oh, Bridget Stewart, she sold and bought, green highlighter, she's already done. Tim Wigan told me that he's taking that job in Annapolis. He's not moving here. 1 straight line through his name. I don't coach, and no one on here is from Annapolis, so I know I could use that. It's outside of all of your market areas. So here's the point. You're not going to take action with every name every week. That wouldn't be possible. You're going to look at every dang name every week. Can you see how fewer people will fall through the cracks if you're doing that? Oh, that Mia chick. Let me text the lender, see if so you send the text. Oh, I heard they had to put their dog down. Let me send them a quick note card. So when you have all that stuff right there, the rule is if it will take you less than 3 minutes to do it, you do it right then in the moment. If it would be more than 3 minutes, your calendar is open and you time block when you're going to do it. Oh God, the whiners asked for that property value for their insurance guy and I forgot to do it. You don't do it right then, you schedule it. Okay. Couple other thoughts on it. By the time you're doing this, you're going to have some pages where everyone is highlighted in green or everyone has a line through them. You don't remove that page. If it's October of next year and you're going through all 47 of these pages, you're giving your subconscious the message. Not only do I find leads all the time, my lead follow-up is so freaking incredible. I know the disposition of all these leads. So when you have one that's all green and all black line, you leave it in there. And even if you just turn the page, Can you see how that's a powerful message supporting your success and your confidence in yourself and your systems? Okay. So again, you're not going to do something with, as you're looking at them, you're going to turn into that ninja. You're going to be like, oh, I want to invite them to that home and garden show. Jump on your email, send them the email, and you're just going through. When you have a team and you have the big conference room and you've got 5 people sitting around with their computers and their notebooks and their binders and the music's playing. Can you see how, by the way, matchmaking happens because someone's going to be like looking at their buyers and you had already talked about a pocket listing that's coming up. They're going to be like, oh, Greta and John would probably love that house. So you're going to have more in-team sales. But the biggest thing is, can you see how your conversion rate is going to increase? Give me some nods or yeses or thumbs up. Okay. And again, you can do this old school or new school. Many of you are doing this. A lot of times people start it and then they get sidetracked from life. A builder does something crazy or someone leaves the team. Something happens and they get away from it. Always go back. Always just go back. Couple other things on this. Golden rules. No updates whatsoever on this sheet. If you call me and I say, I was hacked and got a virus and I have a new email, you don't draw a little arrow down and put my new email address. You put that on the notepad. This book stays pristine. When you do that, the names leap off the page. That's part of the design of, and even in the digital, all that simple. Don't put only once Roosevelt School District and 2,500 square feet. Don't put, that's not where that goes. That goes in the pipeline, in the CRM. Contact information, pipeline, CRM, it's already on your phone. Oh, stop it. Stop. Don't clutter it up. When you clutter it up with crap, it's not going to do anything for you. If it's ultra streamlined, you're going to have an increase in your business. Okay. Last thing I'm going to say about it, and you guys know this, I could probably stop and you all could read number 2. Every week starts at 0. If you had an incredible week last week and your number's 22 and you had 34 because you did an event and you did a raffle and you had a great response to an ad and it's all real and it's great. Most agents, when that happens, agents are great at banking for the future, So most agents, when they do that, they'd show up Monday. I got 34 leads last week. I'm not going to be able to lead generate because, I have to do all that follow-up. I have to do CMAs. And really now I'm ahead of where I needed to be. And then they don't lead generate for like 5 weeks. And then they have one closing 3 months later. And they're like, how come I only have one closing? I was busy earlier. Well, it's because you weren't consistent, right? Every week starts at 0. So if you had this is like an NFL team. NFL teams, when they go in, let's say they won last week by 14 points, they don't go into the new game next week up 14. They start at 0. You start at 0. That right there, by the way, I think that is one of the key factors of people that have growth and people that just always sell like somewhere between 36 and 42 houses a year, year after year. I think that is absolutely one of the key things. You get just enough where it feels comfortable. You stop lead generating, you close the stuff you have, then you lead generate a little more, and you just stay in that quagmire of pretty good life, one of the top producers in your office, but not extraordinary, and still times of stress around taxes and when you want to do something big. Anyway, that's, it's big. So, and if you missed your goal the week before, and it was a work week, not a vacation week, vacation's factored in. If you missed your goal the week before, you close the gap before you start the new week. Okay. 10-month year. I think you all are pretty good on that. We don't have 12 months. According to Pew Institute, most American full-time employees work almost 47 weeks a year. You guys know they've done business planning with me. How often do I say, let's divide by 45? Because we want our business plan to be successful and travel and training events and time with family and personal days and holidays, right? You are setting yourself up for failure if you're doing your annual plan and you divide by 12. You're setting yourself up for failure if you divide by 52. Do not do it. And October 31st, unless you're in Chicago, New York, or New Jersey, which today, the 15th, is their New Year's, October 31st is New Year's. So again, we talked about this earlier. And I do think, even myself, by the way, because COVID threw this off. Prior to COVID, hands down, at least 60 to 70% of my clients were really hardcore about this. They would send me pictures of like all the months on their conference room table with the red X's through it. We were like, me included, I was on it. COVID sort of like got all of us in this like loosey-goosiness. We need to end the loosey-goosey. This year, print out one page for every month of the year next year, put it on a table, have, if you have kids in school, have the school calendar, first day, last day, grandparents' day, whatever the hell you want to do with the school. Most of those calendars are out. Put those down. Put a big X through that day. The holidays that you want to take off, big X through that day. If you observe religious holidays that not everyone observes and you want to take it off, big X through that day. If you know yourself and you say every year, I'm going to work till noon the day before Thanksgiving, and you haven't done it for 7 years, mark that day off. If you know you like to take Boxing Day and the 20, so you get what I'm going, like, this is part of your life by design. I'm also going to encourage all of you. A lot of you don't work weekends anymore. Any of you that work weekends, make sure you have at least one weekend off per month. And by the way, I've got some rainmakers that are like, no, buyer's agents need to work every weekend. You know, no, they don't. If you want them to stay and grow and whatever. But if they had one weekend that's off per month, big X through that. I recommend everyone, once you've done all of this and you've put in your niece's wedding in Colorado in August, the cruise that you're taking in November, you've got all the stuff on there. You've got family reunion, fingers crossed, on there, mega camp on there. You've got one weekend off a month, at least, if you work weekends. I recommend going into December, and that second week in December, take off one more day. Take a personal day during the week in December. It's a great pressure release valve. Now you know whatever is left is when you're working, count the weeks and then count the days. And then you know your numbers. I will share, for people that are really looking to have an increase in their business right now, that's not a level 6 or above. If your number is 49, it's too high. As a recovered workaholic, I know what I'm talking about. Planning for 49, you're planning for disaster. So that's too high. If you're not a level 6 or above, if your number is below 42, you're not going to have growth. You might sustain what you've done, but you're not going to have a breakthrough. Okay. So I really want all of us to get back in a groove on this. It's so powerful, because then you know that you're off when you're off, and you know you're on when you're on, and you just have clarity around all of that. Couple of quick things that I know you guys know. Divide by 10, not 12. Divide by your weeks working, not 52. Plan to be at your unit goal, closed and pendings, no later than October 31st. Divide your appointments and your leads identified by the actual number of weeks you'll work. I guess I was really hung up because I put appointments twice. Let's get more appointments. And then factor in your habits and your life by design features around holidays and vacations. One of the benefits of choosing this career and choosing this industry is you can take off Grandparent Day. Take advantage of it. Hopefully by next fall, life's going to be returning to a little bit more normal, and you'll be able to participate more fully in things like that. So real quick, the rules of 15th protocol: set a calendar event for the 15th of every month to review if you're halfway to your monthly goal. If you are not, have a set, specific, measurable, income-producing activity plan that will just immediately be implemented for the remainder of that month. These should be code blue level, massive activities. So to give you an example, you don't say, all right, well, I came up with a 15th protocol. If I haven't had enough listing appointments and I haven't identified enough leads by the 15th, I'm going to call one more person a day. Well, have fun with that. To use a crass but effective phrase, that will be like a fart in a tornado. No one will notice that because they'll be trying to avoid the cows, the bikes, and the houses flying in that, right? That's not enough. So it would be something like every Tuesday evening, we're all going to lead generate at the office from 5:30 to 7. We'll get pizza and prospecting. Saturday mornings, we're all going to go out and door knock around, blah, blah, blah. So it's got to be set, measurable timeframes and days. We will door knock for 2 hours on Saturday morning as a team around our latest listing. We will do a bold 100. Now that is a time where I think a bold 100 is effective. Okay, everyone, we missed the 15th protocol this Saturday, bold 100. So you get what I mean. It's got to be big because you want to cover that gap. For extra intensity, do one of these on Wednesday evening for each week. Several of you already do that, and it has led to really good results. Many of you are at or above pace for unit and income goal this year. So, and then the other rule of 15, you guys all know this because I talk about it all the time. By January 1st, you want to be at 15% of your unit goal. If you want to sell 100 homes, you want to have 15 pendings on January 1st. There are a couple of you in very particular markets, not many. If you're in one of these markets, I've already talked to you about this, where a listing signed would also count as part of the 15%. Do not delude yourself. If you have a question about your market, ask me on your next call. Most of you I've already had that conversation with. If you happen to be at 15% for gross sales volume in GCI, great. That just means that you're hitting your averages. But if you're not, it's not as important. The unit goal is most important. And then the other aspect of this is you want your pipeline, your leads identified to also be at 15%. So this example, I don't know why I picked an odd number, but let's say someone's going for 115 units that needs 1,150 leads to hit the goal. So by January 1st, we want 173 people already in that binder. So those are the rules of 15. Final thoughts. I want all of us, I'm including myself in this, I want us adding intentionality and purpose to everything we do. When you're working, work hard. When you're playing, play hard. I add in when you're restoring yourself, resting or relaxing, relax hard. Meaning if you're going to have a Saturday off, put the phone on do not disturb. If you want to binge watch Stepmom, Steel Magnolias, and 27 Dresses in a row, eating popcorn in yoga pants, great. Do it and relish in it. Don't do it and feel like, oh, I should be doing other stuff. I should be doing, I should look at the marketing. Stop it. Let's all be more present in doing what we're doing at the time we're doing it. Okay. Measure, track, and record. Many of you are good at that. Many of you could improve dramatically in that area. Have a schedule and follow it, and be hardcore with income producing activity. If you must erase, you must replace. So let's say you were planning for 3 hours of lead gen, 2 hours of lead gen, 45 minutes lead follow-up on Thursday, and you get a last minute call from Gary Keller. Hey, Jim DiPaola, I'm coming to town tomorrow. I'd like for you to take me out to see properties and take me to the country club at blah, 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 whatever. I'm going to want you to do that. You're going to say, okay, Gary, I'm going to do that, right? So you would do that. That lead generation, lead follow-up must be replaced. So, if he called you the day before, you either do it that day or you put it in your calendar. Get really hardcore about that. And then last thought, ask one more person one more time. All of us could be more diligent in lead follow-up. And if you take on that as a mantra of, I ask one more person one more time, you don't know who you're going to hit. You don't know if that 26th person, when you were going for 25, is the one that's going to say, oh my God, I was going to call you today. Yes, I actually, unfortunately, I'm getting divorced. I need to buy a house next week. You don't know. So just kind of get in that mode of one more person, one more time. Okay. So Q&A, which we can do for a couple of minutes. Tell me what you guys think. Tell me what questions you have. Any questions I missed in the chat?
I have a question, Bridget. Thank you for being so comprehensive. What I'm focused on right now is the 100 and let's say you want to do
Right.
100 units, the 173 you have to have by January 1st, right? So,
Well, if you're doing 100, you mean in the pipeline, the leads
yeah,
identified?
the pipeline, the identified leads. So can you
So
explain
that
a
would be
little bit?
150. It's 15%.
Okay, yeah, the number is what I'm really asking about, this
Okay.
specific number. I'm asking more about the concept of like what those leads would look like way back here in October.
Mhm.
So like, we're in October, early November. So when we're inputting these leads, just explain that process. So maybe if you kind of explain the process a little bit better, I can conceptually grab it. I don't even know what I'm asking for. I'm just.
So you're lead generating and
Mhm,
you're doing DT2, and you're
Mhm.
calling your past clients. I'm one of your past clients. You call me up the first week in November. You're all excited because you're going to do your Just So You Know script. Everyone get ready. Just So You Know script is coming up. And I say to you, we're going to change that example I gave before. Great news. You know how much we wanted to move, but we were waiting till Ethan finished high school. He's going to finish next spring. What we were thinking, should we go on like 6 weeks ahead of time so we can have it coincide with when he graduates? Okay, so I'm a seller lead, right? For next April. So in that week, so you've got your binder there and it's week of October, November 18th, because I said it was in November. You would write Bridget Stewart, seller, April, sphere of influence.
Okay, so like as I'm lead generating.
Yeah.
Let's say the person I talk to says, we're thinking about doing this because this is very common. Everybody knows this. We're thinking about doing something in February, but we actually close them in December, right? Like, because they're, because
Right.
in real estate, nobody really knows their time frame usually. Some people do like work purposes and stuff, but what I find is their timeline is different than what happens in real life.
Correct. That's
So when I
why,
put it,
that's
so
why
if
this
I,
is so important.
right, so if I put it in the book in November that they're going to be doing something in February in that book to start the February booklet, the binder, and then they close in December. I know I might be a little too granular about this, but then I put the line through it because it's in the book for 2022, but it really closed in 2021. Where things change. That's what I'm wondering. Like from now until January, I was a little surprised that you would have to have 150 people that you already know that are going to do something next year. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
You're wrong about that. You want to sell
Okay.
100 houses? So some of you on here have sold 100 before. Next year started October 1. So, and think about it for a minute, Jim. I think you're overthinking it. Every single one of you, if you're lead generating, you are going to start right now. You are going to start hearing, we're going to wait till the spring. Oh, we're going to wait till after the holidays. Oh, we don't understand why it's a benefit for us to sell right now. And we're kind of dopey. So we're going to wait until March. You're going to be hearing that right now. So you want to, I'm trying to understand your question because this actually prevents you from losing those people. Someone says to me, I'm going to sell in March, and it's the week of October 18th, and I write them down, Bridget Stewart, seller, March, sphere, right? And then next week, I'm doing my lead review, and I look at her. The week after, I look at her. The week after her, I look at her and decide to give her a quick call. Hey, Bridget, I was just thinking about you today because, a house came up in your neighborhood, blah, 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 whatever. You think of some reason to call them. She goes, oh, you know what? We think we want to move it up. An opportunity came up in Kentucky. We think we want to sell before the end of the year. So the very fact that you have them captured, so they're in your pipeline, they're in your binder, they're in your Google spreadsheet if you do it in New School. So like, I feel like I'm not explaining it right because this prevents you from missing those people.
No, and I totally get that. I guess I'm just stunned because I do close to 100 deals a year, but I've never broken through the 100 yet, right?
Right.
So this
So
is
you're going to
probably
want
one
to
of my
do,
problems, right? This is probably one of the reasons why. And
Correct.
I'm
This
just
is
surprised
one
that
of the
you have
reasons why I will
yeah,
say yes.
150 people that you know they're going to close the next, talking about doing business the next year. That number, I have a lot of work to do, I guess is what I'm saying. So
But here's the great news. You've got 10 weeks to do it.
absolutely. I mean, yeah, I just trying to figure it out. So
And
that's
by the way, none of you, I should look through my whole list again. None of you are starting from zero. So any of you that do this, you'd put your hottest leads right now in the front of the binder, add them in so they don't get forgotten or lost. So all of you are rivers that are flowing and we're jumping into the river and going with it in the current right now. We just want to swim faster and we want to get more. But hands down, the reason why you keep selling around the same number is you're not doing this stuff. This is that stuff. And I feel like you all can correct me if I'm wrong, because you guys are out and about. I feel like it's not, these things aren't talked about often enough. And that's why I wanted to go over it, because I was pretty confident they weren't going to go into these things. A couple of them they will, but not at this level on the regular business plannings that you're going to do. Okay. So we can talk about that more if you're still confused about it. But seriously, so what do you want to sell next year? 200 houses? And also, by the way, this is how I'm sure most of you have seen someone who joins the office. They might be 18 months in the business. Boom, next year, they sold 78 houses. And the year after that, they sold 100. You all know someone like that. I guarantee you they were doing this level of lead identification and pre-work before the year even began. So if you want to sell, and it's easy. If you want to sell 200 homes next year, you dang well better have 300 people identified as potential buyers or sellers for the coming year. And
Okay, thank you.
remember, this is all of them. I'm going to close with going back to the story about the dog walker. So one of my clients in LA, that was a real story. So he had a dog walker that would take care of his dog. Every once in a while, he would run by the house and actually be there, when she was there, but not often. So he's there and she says, hey, I can't believe you're here. We want to buy a condo or a townhouse. The way that we operate normally, we have this filter in our head that goes, you're my dog walker and I know what I pay you. You're not going to be able to buy a house in Los Angeles, West LA, actually, which is the high, for those of you that don't know LA, that's the higher price point side. He started this system and he was playing the game at a high level. So he added her in, put her, buyer lead, February, sphere of influence. He might have even called her a vendor, I forget. And he's like, all right, I'm going to trust in the system. I'm going to trust in it. Guess what? Mia the dog walker is a trust fund baby. She has her dog walking business because she can afford to do whatever she wants. She bought a townhouse that was somewhere north of 800,000. If he had not been following that process, he would have thought, oh, he wouldn't have given her, he probably would have given her some follow-up, but not the same level. So this is you turning off that filter that sabotages you, thinking that you're a fortune teller and you can tell who can perform and who cannot, because you're putting everyone down and then trusting in your system that the cream will rise to the top. The motivated and the qualified will rise to the top. Okay. All right, guys, I do have a 1 o'clock, so I'm going to jump off so I have a few minutes. If you have is there any question I missed in the chat? I don't. Preview more. Okay. If there's something else that you guys want to go over, send me an email and we'll talk about it on your next call. The follow-up to today, I'm going to do a short session on each model. So I'm going to do a short session on org model, lead gen model, budget model, and economic model. But that's going to take place between now and probably Thanksgiving. And they'll be much shorter. It's just going to be, I'm already going to have examples and we're just going to go through it and then do more Q&A and less presenting. Okay. By the way, feel free to invite anyone that you'd like to these, downline, people in your office, whatever. Okay. All right. Get out there and knock them dead.